Hello, everyone. I am Executive Chef robertaalowe, your recipe coach and your mentor. Thank you for tuning into this plant-based kitchen where we talk about all things plant-based, mind, body, soul. We look to make sure we bring you the best recipes and all the healing options that will help you sustain a better life for your soul, okay? And today's guest, I want to introduce, we have a special guest here. We have a doctor on today, Dr. Dellia Is, affectionately called Dr. Dellia, is a naturopathic physician and life schooling mother of 5, natural health expert, and founder of Naturopathologically speaking.
Naturopathically.
What? Say it again.
It's naturopathically speaking. It's
Naturopathically speaking.
Yes.
And through her online courses and social media platform, she provides expert insight in natural health, explaining holistic health and healing for individuals and homeschooling families. Dr. Dellia is a graduate of accredited medical school, Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine in Tempe, Arizona, and is passionate about helping women and mothers like herself live their best life for adopting whole health for the whole family so they can thrive and not just survive. She loves all things nature and heart-centered and enjoys spending time in great outdoors with her family where she feels in harmony with nature. You can definitely connect with her on all her social media platforms by subscribing to her YouTube channel and follow her on Facebook and IG for expert insight of holistic health for individuals in the whole family. And we'll share those links at the end and definitely put them in the comments section for you all to make sure that you totally connect with her. Okay. And so once we get back from the sponsor information, we will be talking with our lovely Dr. Bernard in just a moment. Okay. This sponsor is brought to you by VegBox, and that's a fast casual restaurant here in Baltimore, Maryland, where they make sure that you have all your vegan needs conveniently, fast, and make sure the menu is actually delicious. Okay, they have grain bowls, tacos, they have sliders, desserts, salad, soup. So they have you all covered. Definitely check them out on all of their social media handles at VegBoxMD, or you can email them at info@vegboxmd.com to help place your order. And make sure you check out their website as well, vegboxmd.com. That's VEGBOXMD.com. All right, so let's get into this podcast today. Hello, doctor. How are you today?
We're in I am doing well. Yes, well. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, thank you. I do appreciate you coming on today to help and talk with the audience here. And just a little bit, I'm excited about speaking with you because we actually met, I believe last year we met, and we just kind of connected based upon just what you were doing and the message that you were teaching and how, especially about holistic healing and things of that nature. And that's exactly what I was on the path of doing, and being plant-based, and I believe in really trying to use as less man-made chemicals as possible. You know, that's kind of where I like to stand, you know, so that's kind of how we touch base. And I'm so glad that we are still touching base and that you decided to join us today on the podcast to talk with the guests here. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your career, and yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I appreciate that. And yes, we did connect last year and we hit it off right away. And that was really good because we have a message that has a commonality, and that's one of health. And with health, there are some pillars that that make up health. And one of the biggest pillars is nutrition. So we were able to really connect around that when it comes to eating mostly plant-based diet and how that influences our health and our well-being and our vitality. So that was really nice for us to connect in that manner. Well, you pretty much introduced me. I am a naturopathic physician and a life schooling mother with 5 children. I have been homeschooling them for the last decade plus. So we're looking at, my oldest is 13. He had a very short stint in preschool, but I homeschooled him through medical school and beyond. So, well, actually, I had 3 children in medical school while through the process, and I continued on. It's been a long journey in that manner, but I've always been very passionate about natural medicine. And growing up in the Caribbean, in Trinidad, that's where I'm from. You know, we have had, at the time I was raised, my mother's side of the family had a very strong, natural, herbalistic approach to living. And so a lot of my influences started there. And it grew from there. I always felt that there was a natural way to resolve issues. I never knew that one day I'd become a doctor, but by the time I was 7, I wanted to become one. And I always knew that I wanted to do something natural, but didn't know naturopathic medicine existed. Years later, however, as my life's path would follow, you know, I was able to hop into this medicine, which is exactly what I wanted because of its affiliation with natural health. As a naturopathic physician, we do conventional approaches to healing, conventional approaches to to diagnosis, So we diagnose things very conventionally through lab work and otherwise, but our treatment methods are very holistic in its approach. So we do a lot of natural therapies. You know, you're looking at things like acupuncture, nutrition therapy, IV therapy, homeopathy, water therapies, saunas, you name it. There's so many tools in our toolbox as naturopathic medicine, medical doctors. And so that's really exciting to be able to look through all of those tools to help really tailor health for the patient. In terms of me, I have been in the last couple of years been focusing on doing a more courses online, dominating the space after I had my 5th baby. I thought it'd be great to just focus in on that space so that I could continue homeschooling our children, which is something that I have been passionate about. And somehow I've been able to marry the two, which is how Naturopathically Speaking came about. I'm the founder of that. So I was able to just marry them together and do, you know, be able to reach a larger audience, you know, with my courses online and my social media platforms, and kind of break out of the box of the traditional medicine.
That's, now you did mention, as you were speaking, I was thinking about, you broke down a little bit about how the difference is you still do diagnosis as through conventional methods. And so can you break down what is the difference of seeing a holistic professional versus a conventional doctor, or even do you as you in your profession, is that different than how does it vary? How does it vary?
So I believe you're asking me the difference between like a conventional approach to medicine versus
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So with conventional approaches, and there's no knock on it, I think they both have their place in medicine. For instance, if you have emergency medicine, you need an emergency physician to be able to navigate through, trauma and all of these types of emergency type medicines that it has its place. Largely, naturopathic doctors are preventative doctors. We are whole health doctors, and there's a difference in that when you come to see a naturopathic physician, you're coming to see someone who doesn't just see your illness. We see you, and we know that illness has a story. So it's important for us to understand your story so that we can help you connect the dots and help you get to the root cause of how your illnesses showed up, so that we can now find a way to promote true healing of your body and not just, a suppression of symptoms, if that makes sense. So, lab work is necessary and so on, but not all the time does lab work give us a complete picture of what's going on. I can't tell you how many patients have had normal lab work for certain things, but they feel off. They're not feeling well, even though sometimes their lab works may show up as normal. So it's important to really, as a naturopathic physician, look at the entire picture, look at the patient, and get to the root cause of their story. And that will help us put it all together like a puzzle, like a detective, and really put it all together so we can help them understand the root of their suffering or their illness and help them heal holistically and beyond. So it's not just a temporary illness. So we don't just slap a drug on. We really help them with the right therapies that are best suited for them to help them in their support and help them have success, is the job of a naturopathic physician.
Okay. Now, what do you say? So you mentioned that all the blood work comes back looking fine. Those are the tests there, but you do go a little bit deeper. So do you look at, I know emotions play a big part on the body. Now, how is that something that you take in consideration, and how do you determine, how do you do that assessment on the patients when they come in, everything is fine test wise, but it's still something there that they're not addressing?
Yeah. And so, it's really important and make this clear that if you are feeling stressed or you are carrying long-term stress type emotions, really most of our illnesses begin in the emotions and the mind. And so because that's the case, it's really important for us, which is why most naturopathic doctors, their setting their meetings with the patient would be a good hour to an hour and a half for your initial consultations, but it's usually within that time frame, because it's not something that you can rush. Your patient needs to know and feel comfortable understanding that we're listening to them and they're being heard. Because when you listen to the patient, you would hear the different clues that show up that will help you to be able to detect, put these pieces together here, and put them all together to help you really come up with the big puzzle, of what's going on with the patient. And that takes time. It takes time to be able to do that. So I think one of the biggest differences between the conventional approach and the holistic approach to medicine is definitely taking the time with the patient to help them unravel their story, their history, really ask in-depth questions. And most of the times you'll find before the patient even sometimes gets their results back, you would find that by them being able to speak and talk and relate the connection of how things started and when it started and what was happening around that time of their symptoms showing up, that in itself is a big part of how we put the pieces together. But that takes time.
Okay. And that actually makes sense. I mean, for you to really be able to assess anyone. You do have to sit down and you have to take time. Even when I'm assessing in terms of where people are in this stage of transitioning over to plant-based, it just takes time. And I also put in the emotions and think about it's different factors at play. Emotions, what they have available, who's in their circle, where they're going and things of that nature. All of that plays a part on us physically in our daily lives, each person. So I think that that's very important, and that is a unique distinction between the conventional method doctors, and even though they try sometimes, because they do what they can, but they're still seeing tons of patients at the same time, and they're more so of like, let's see this patient. Only from my experience, everybody's experience might be different. So I don't want to group everybody together, but it's more so of, if I go to the doctors, okay, what is this problem? What is that problem? Are you having this? They do ask a few questions, but they don't really get in depth. I think I had one doctor that I was so stressed out, and he mentioned, well, how are you feeling emotionally? It was only one doctor in all the years that I've been going to a doctor that was doing conventional medicine, traditional medicine here. It was only one doctor, and I was just like, and it felt different. It felt like I wasn't rushed. And so I was able to talk to him and let him know. We talked for a while. And after that, I felt less stressed a little bit,
I was just going to say that many times, what you'll find after a patient has come to see a naturopathic physician, even upon that first visit, the fact that they're not rushed and they feel heard is in of itself, the therapies have begun in of itself, because you're able to really, wow, I don't feel rushed. I feel heard. I feel like I'm being understood. I feel like all of these factors are coming into play. They have already begun that process of healing by just being in a space of not feeling rushed, just feeling like they've been heard.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly how I felt that just that one time, just with that one doctor. So I do think, and again, we're both on the same page with emotions playing a huge part in stress. Stress really harms the body in more ways than one. And really, when we're not aware of it, or when we don't actually bring it to our conscious mind and kind of speak it or deal with it, then it really continues to harm us. Now, I know that I was watching a video with you, and you were doing an interview, and you were speaking on how different emotions affect the body. Could you break that down for us? And it's always fascinating how to see one emotion affects an organ or something in your body, and you can tell. So yes, where did that concept come from, and how, and all of that? Break that.
Okay, so really quickly, and if you want to see that video in depth, you can go to my YouTube channel, and it's Naturopathically Speaking. Just start typing it in, hopefully it'll show up. But it's really about how to really heal. I think that's the name of that video. How, if you want to heal, do this, and how our emotions play an important part in our health. In the holistic medicine, and that field of medicine, especially naturopathic doctors, we believe that our gut is the place that houses most of our immune system. Most of our health resides and begins in the gut. And it makes sense, because our lymphatic system, we have about 500 plus lymph nodes in our body, and half of them reside in our gut. And the lymphatic system is the system that really helps with our white blood cells. It helps our immune. And here it is, half of it is within our gut area. So we do believe that. There's a deeper school of thought that, our mind and our emotions actually are the root cause generally of where our our illnesses or health resides. Because of the way we feel, it's based on the way we think. If I think that I'm able to, and I'm capable to, and I'm going to, and I have these really positive thoughts, my feelings follow my thoughts. So then I feel like, oh, maybe I should go and eat something healthy or go exercise because I feel good about myself. So I'm going to try to do these things that make me continue to feel good. And so many times our emotions start in our health begins in our mind, and our mind influences our emotions, and our emotions influence our mind. They play together. In traditional Chinese medicine, we're looking at how the mind and the body really work together. And we have these major meridians, these organs that show up in meridian paths. And so in traditional Chinese medicine, these organs are related to certain emotions. And then they show up in our physicalities. And then it shows up long-term if we don't correct them into chronic conditions and illnesses. So I always like to give the example of the liver because it's a very common one. The liver is one of the major Chinese meridians, and the liver stores the emotion of anger. And so if you have a lot of anger, it may show up in liver issues. Liver issues can show up like fatty liver. Now, with the meridian itself, the liver opens up to the eyes. So if you have blurry eyes, scratchy eyes, itchy eyes, anything related to eyes, vision, it's related to that organ, the liver, and definitely you want to consider what type of emotions have you been carrying. A lot of times, things like resentment, anger, and the like, and sometimes it's long-standing that causes it, because I believe we don't villainize emotions. Emotions are important. When we have emotions, it's the emotions that help us to do something, whether we feel excited because something that we wanted worked out. That feeling of joy and excitement resides in the heart, the emotion of the heart. And so we feel good. It gives us positive endorphins. If we have feelings of worry, that resides in the stomach. And that feeling of like, oh, I've got nuts in my tummy. Generally speaking, that nut that you feel or that butterflies that you feel, it resides there, and there's a sense of worry that may be going on. So our job as holistic practitioners is to really just listen and then really help you detect how these emotions that you may have long-standing have been showing up in these physical conditions, whether it's pain, chest pain, GI issues, whether it's headaches, hypertension, insomnia, weight gain or loss, dizziness, lightheadedness, you name the symptoms that most people carry. If it's long-standing, most of the times, if you trace it back, it's traced back to some form of stressful environment or stressful situation, or some form of trauma that you have experienced, whether in your adult life or through your childhood life, that you're subconsciously just carrying on long-term, and it shows up as illnesses in the body. So it's really important to realize how much our emotions play an important part in either strengthening or weakening our body's immune system.
Yeah, and you really touched on something which you actually just said in terms of childhood trauma, and how that long-standing and how, those things actually show up in the body. And I think a lot of us should be a little bit more, more aware of if we're feeling these elements and things of that nature, it's something that has been festering in our body. And like you said, the root cause is from normally stress. And so, that illness have to really start thinking about, unpacking what's going on so we can really eliminate it instead of kind of putting a Band-Aid over it,
Right.
Medicine, things of that nature. So yeah.
And you're right about that. And the truth is, many times, things like thyroid issues, which is very, 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 very common in many women and in a lot of men, to believe it or not. You know, you have thyroid issues, you've got like just very common ailments, and they're traced back to childhood trauma. And childhood trauma doesn't always have to be the traumas with the capital T. You know, we have those, but it's important for your audience to realize that, you know, these things do play a path and a role in our health and where we are. And just being able to shed or shine light on it can in itself help you to become more aware. And it's in that awareness that healing can begin. Because when you think of the word healing, you know, it's not just a treatment that if you remove the treatment, the condition comes back. That's really not what healing is. Healing is at the root cause. Once you kind of go in and you heal from inside, it heals the wound and closes it up. And when it's done, you may have a scar, but it's healed.
Right.
As opposed to just putting maybe a Band-Aid or something temporarily on it, that if you took yourself off of that, whether it's taking yourself off of medication or even a nutraceutical, if you take yourself off of these things, then, you know, the symptoms come back. Then it's really kind of temporary and it's not true healing. Healing is a place of coming to a place of wholeness, right? So these traumas, whether they're big traumas or little t traumas, like we like to call them, they actually influence the body, they influence the mind, they influence them. You can see them. You know, there's this saying that says, how you do anything, it's how you do everything. And so the truth is, a lot of times you will see these repeating patterns in your life. Sometimes you might be like, okay, now I see the patterns, doctor, now what do I do? Well, the first step to being able to even change it is to become aware of these patterns. And if you need help, whether you go to a therapist or you go to see a holistic practitioner, they can really help you unpack these patterns so that you can now start making little changes to help you to see the big results over time. And then, you know, health is a journey. You know, there's no destination to health. You know, it's a journey. You know, when you see someone who is on this journey for a longer time, so they have probably higher or more optimal health, but it doesn't matter. Your journey is yours. It's yours and yours alone. So you don't have to compare yourself, but you need to become aware so that you can make the necessary steps on that journey towards health. And so my job in my courses that I really provide is to really help you to become that aware and that conscious and know the types of choices that will help you optimize your health for you and your entire family.
Yeah. And I love that you really broke that down, because I think it's important for people to really know that what healing is, you know. Like you said, it's not if you get off that medication today, if you you know, if you stop doing a routine that so-called you felt was making you feel better, if you get off of that and no symptoms start to show up again, then that's not healing. So right. I think I appreciate you really breaking it down for people to understand that what true healing is. And so we all want to be healed, guys. That is the objective. And I think also, you know, like you said, is in terms of the journey, you know, yeah, absolutely. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. You know, it's your journey and you have to be absolute in your journey, you know, knowing that no matter how long it takes, this is the outcome that I want. This is what I'm going for. And that's it. You know, I think that's how we find the greatness. That's how we sustain. That's how we find really reach our goal and be joyous about our goal, you know, that we have reached. And so it's the same way in entrepreneurship. You know, it's only you that can be absolute about where you're going. And that's also what I teach in my book, Almost Plant-Based, for people that's transforming. You know, when people come to me and ask me about time, they'll say, how long would it take for me to transition, or how long would it take for me to like certain foods and things of that nature? I was like, Well, it all depends on you. And two, if you really want to stick with this, then you put in the time until it comes to pass. That's what it is.
That's right. That's right.
That's what it is. So if you're looking for true healing, guys, you put in the time until it comes to pass. And then you keep going on beyond, because now you have to sustain that, So
And well, hopefully by the time you actually start seeing positive results, you'll feel a positive, what we call a positive feedback loop, where because you're feeling these positive results, it encourages you to want to keep going because of the way you're feeling. And so you're changing this, your mind is changed, your body's starting to change, you're seeing positive results, and the positive results makes you feel better. And it's because you feel better, you want to continue feeling even better. So that's a positive feedback loop. Yeah.
I love that term, because I might have to use it every so often, the positive feedback loop, because that's what I tell people that's, again, transitioning over. Start off with the small wins, and when you start feeling those wins, it'll pump you up more to continue on. So definitely, I really love that, the positive feedback loop. If I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's great, and that's I definitely stand in agreement with you on that. Totally. Because when we're winning something, that's why they give out trophies. That's why it's always a first place. When we're winning, we want to come back and do it again. That goes for everything. It's that emotion that keeps us moving forward, pushing past roadblocks and limits and things like that. That's the best emotion to really drive us. So yes. So tell us what tell the people out here who might be suffering with illness. First of all, guys, you go see your own doctor. Okay, I know we have a doctor on today, but she is not your personal doctor. And so therefore, all of this information is general, and it's just our opinions and things of that nature. But so please remember that, first of all. But for what I wanted to ask you next is how would you, what is important for people to know about if they're ill, with their illness, what's happening with their illness, and how they can control it?
Okay.
How they can control it. Yeah, certain illnesses, and what gives them the power? How can they get power back?
So one of the first things that I would address is that any illness that you may have, it has a story. And when we stop from saying, why did this happen to me? And ask ourselves this question instead is, what is this trying to teach me? That switches the gear of, oh, my poor me, a victim of all whatever. Well, my daddy had this, so my grandma had this, so it's probably in my gene line. So this is what I need to do because this is what I've had. It's genetic, it's what I've had, so I expect to get it. It really switches it from one of, oh my, poor me, victimization, to a little bit more of your own detective. And so understanding that your illness tells a story is the first thing to one of the things that can help you to start the process of recovery. And many times, majority, 80% or more of the illnesses that are out there are really lifestyle related. And that lifestyle can be whether it's poor diet, your environment. Again, in our profession, we think about your thoughts and your emotions and little things along the way that some of that you may not have had control over at the time, that these things impact and influence your health. And so understanding the what versus the why is one of the first ways that we can start the awareness of healing. See, many times we have these disruptions that are brought into our lives, right? And it can be profoundly necessary. So I'll give you a story from my own. When I was in medical school, after my third child, second baby in medical school, I remember she was about 8 months old, and I remember feeling like I had become a machine because I was homeschooling our children. I was taking on 13 courses, and that was just a program. I didn't have a choice in that matter. 3 clinic shifts, breastfeeding, homeschooling, just doing the whole nine. It was just a lot on my plate. And I remember I had like about 6 to 8 exams a week. So it was just a lot. And I remember feeling in that year of school, like, whoa, I feel like I've become a machine. I actually felt that way. I feel like I'm a machine. I just went on to one thing to the next. And so I really, truly, in essence, had lost my space of like my groundedness. And at the end of that year, that quarter, whatever it was, it's been a while now, I showed up with vertigo. And I had never been an ill person before. I'd been relatively healthy all my life, no known illnesses of any sort. So when it came on, it was so bad. It shut me down for the entire thing, but thankfully it was at the end of that quarter. So I had that 2-week break and I thought, oh, it's really, really bad. I couldn't move my head. I couldn't move anything without throwing up. I couldn't get out of bed. Everything was spinning. I couldn't even get to my doctor. It was that bad. And I remember thinking, what is going on? Like, I've never been sick before. Oh, maybe it'll go in 2 days. And it took an entire year and a half before my doctor, my naturopathic doctor, was able to allow me to go back to school because he told you had to be completely recovered. You had flatlined. I was taking on too much. Well, during that period, I was really able to sit with that illness and learn where these patterns were coming from. Thankfully, I was in my 3rd year of medical school and, we were dealing with a lot of the mind body courses and really showing up. So I was really like entrenched at the time and it was perfect because I was able to really uncharter my own illness and wonder what showed up. Why was this happening? But not why, but what was it trying to tell me? And the truth is, most of our illnesses, when they show up, they actually show up in relation to what's going on in the mind-body portion. So in the case of my vertigo, what is vertigo? Vertigo is losing your balance. It's losing your sense of balance. Everything's spinning in and out. And that's exactly the way I felt. I took on so much. I was doing too much. I lost my sense of groundedness, and my illness showed up in the very form that it was there. So you might need the help of a holistic practitioner if you need to, but you can actually see your illnesses no matter what it is, whether it's obesity, whether it's a condition of diabetes, hypertension, autoimmunity. All of these conditions tell a story. Illness tells a story, and it's a disrupt. And instead of us being like, woe is me, why is this happening? We have to be grateful that our bodies are actually showing up with these symptoms to let us know that there are patterns that we're doing in our lives that are not working for us. And we need to stop and change it. And thank goodness it's showing up in that, because sometimes it shows up as death. And that's part of the illness. Like, you didn't listen for too long, and now I'm just going to shut it down. Whether it's through a heart attack, a stroke, or otherwise, our body is constantly telling us stories of what's happening. But we have to become aware and conscious of that. So when I think about illness, I think about the story that it tells. And then if we start unpacking that story and understanding it, then we can start changing the patterns that got us there and be grateful for that, so that we can now listen to that pattern, that story, and become healthy. And with ourselves first. And then, of course, with the relationships around us, whether it's our family, our community, and so forth. So that's the first thing. And the biggest part of our illness resides, like we talked about earlier on, in our feelings and our behaviors, the patterns. All of these things are patterns. It's like the habits. There's this saying that says, you create your habits and your habits create you. A lot of times we have habits from what we've grown up with, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, these generational patterns that we've adopted in our lifestyle. And we're doing it and we think that it's genetic, and it's not really genetic. It's really behavioral patterns that we've just picked up because of what we grew up with. And these patterns are repeating themselves, and then we show up with the similar illnesses because of the patterns. So let's just say, for instance, you came from a family, you lived in the South or whatever, and you ate chitlins for that was your meal, and you're like, this is what we did. There's a lot of emotional connection around that. That's what we did. And so whatever disease conditions that may have shown up because of the patterns that you may have had, maybe your great grandmother had hypertension and your grandmother had hypertension, and then your father had hypertension, and then it's in yours. You might say, oh yeah, I have a family of history history of hypertension? Well, hypertension, primary hypertension at least, is generally speaking more of a lifestyle illness, right? It's a lifestyle condition. So we have to ask ourselves, what patterns have I adopted throughout my life, throughout my generational life, generational patterns that have put me in this space, and what can I do differently now? And it may be a slow journey. And what can I do differently now to create a new pattern for the generations that are coming behind me, or ahead of me? So that's the first thing I would say, that our illnesses tell a story. Most of the illnesses start off with, thought and emotion. And it's important to start asking yourself the most important question of, what is this illness trying to teach me, as opposed to, why did this happen to me?
I think so. You guys out there in the internet world, just great information, and just know that your body tells a story. That's how, and you have to listen to it. That's how you claim back your power. That's how you control what's happening to you, by listening to your body and taking action on it. So yes, perfectly said, perfectly said. Now tell us where people can connect with. Well, before I ask that, I was actually intrigued about the whole family. So how did you, in your household, how do you handle when, the common, I guess, sickness comes? You might not have to deal with that issue too much, because you do homeschool, so the children don't necessarily come home with too many common colds and things of that nature, or flu that they'll get from being around other kids. But how has that happened to your family, and how do you handle that based upon the knowledge and your practice of what you do?
That's a great question. So, common ailments, childhood ailments are very common, because they are common to many people. And even though we homeschool, we do interact. We do interact in social, environments, like, whether it's church, pathfinders, homeschooling groups, whatever, there's a lot of interaction there. So it's easy for that to happen. And our children, and we have 5 children. So, but we definitely try to keep a more preventative approach. And this is my life's work, to help moms, and I'll get back to that answer, but this is for me to help moms to create an environment in their home life or in their home life, because as women, we are at the backbone of health and wellness. We're the ones that carry that culture throughout. We're the ones that nurture. We're nurturers in that regard. So if we are able to get on board and really put that big C in confidence versus concern, and really understand how to raise healthy children, which is totally possible in today's day and age. We are going to be able to change the course of culture and change the course of generations to come. So our children in general, they get the cold sometimes, and they've gotten the flu occasionally. But I will say, when I had 3 children in medical school, and at the time it was a lot. But the positive side of it is that I was able to implement from the rip, from before having babies, because that's where health begins. Believe it or not, moms out there, we think about our children, but before we even think about children, we have to think about ourselves before we have children, because the health begins there. A lot of the times, the gene pool that we take on and we pass on, and a lot of it really resides on the mom, believe it or not. So really taking a time, whether it's a year or so before you want to have children, to really start putting your body together in a healthy way, whether through diet and exercise and sleep, those pillars of health that I teach in my course, and really understanding what those pillars are, and really doing the necessary steps so you can set up the womb to receive and to be knit together with the child that may be coming, the child or children that will be coming through there, for a healthy start, a healthy path from the start. It really starts off with the mom and the dad, but mostly the mom. And so I was able to take the things that I was learning in school at the time and really start implementing it from the before that, then to prenatals, then to the healthy pregnancy, and then beyond. So when, I teach these in my course through childhood ailments that come up, how we can treat them, naturally with things at your home, in your home, and other natural remedies that are safe and effective to bringing about healing. So even prevent them, it starts off with the diet. It starts off with understanding these things. So I go through that in depth in my course. But when they show up, because I am a doctor, that is it's a blessing and a curse sometimes, trust me, because you never take that hat off when you're home with the kids. It's like it's always on and they know it. And so it's like, that hat stays on. But on the flip side of it, there's a confidence there that you can help the kids. So, the beginning part is prevention. Things children need from the rep, taking away environmental things that can feed poor health. Sugary foods, and, understanding their sleeping habits, and, their diet related things, and all these other factors, their emotions, all of these things play a role in the child's health, and really creating that environment, introducing foods into their lifestyles from really young, that will help to develop taste buds that have a taste for what the body actually needs, as opposed to the things that we like out there that are not really conducive or really in alignment with what our body's needs are. So really starting it off there and being able to do that. And then, of course, you see signs and symptoms that may come up really early, and when it's early, you're able to do safe and effective methods at home that you can do too as a mom to really help nip things in the bud from early. But the biggest part is prevention. The biggest part is what you put into the system, what kinds of foods that you put in that will build the body and not break the body down. Things like, like I said, removing processed foods and refined foods from their diet, and really introducing foods and continuing to feed foods that fuel the body's ability to operate optimally. So that's my role as a mom. And I'm grateful, even though it was very stressful at the time, having all those babies in medical school, I was able to utilize that and fuel it into helping understand the path to health from the very infancy in this and beyond. So our children do get sick, but when they do their natural therapies, whether it's hydrotherapy, that we can use, there's nutritional therapy, increasing those doses, and there are lots of things that you can do, and you can do too as a mom. This is not just relegated to me as a doctor, but I impart this knowledge to you so that you can do these things as well to prevent. There's a lot of things that can be stopped in its tracks through prevention and through diet related changes. So just by improving, and it's the big ones, having a diet that's full, like she said, plant-based, even if you want to eat certain animal products, if that's something that you want to do, there's still better options available than what's out there. Like the conventional agri-meats that are out there should be stayed away from, because you are what you ate. So if they ate whatever they ate, that's what you're getting. So if you're eating animal products, which the majority of them are fed foods that are not even in line with their diet, and they're genetically modified, and they're pumped with hormones and antibiotics and all these kinds of things, you better believe that that's what you're having, and that's breaking your body down. But having a diet that's really mostly plant-based, which is mostly heavily vegetables and fruits, that's what our body needs. That's the fuel that really keeps the engine turning. It's really important to have that wide variety and to start children off from very, very young, introducing these foods into their diet instead of introducing them to the sugary processed foods that they don't really need. Yes, as they get older, they can have them, and because they have choice, but when they're young, their diet is largely dependent on you and what you bring into the home. So you have a big role to play in that, and educating yourself so that you can show them the path of health. Even if it's new to you, it's a journey that you can go on together with them. And that's actually the best, because everybody can do it together. But so when they get colds and flus, there are natural ways to do it. You want to make sure that you're giving them the right amount of vitamins and minerals, and that comes largely from food. And then there are therapeutic dosages of things that you can do as a parent, and that can help them stave off illnesses, or at least nip it in the bud the minute it comes. Most of the times if our children get sick with the cold or so, or the flu, they will get it. And it's okay if you get the cold and flu. I just want you to understand that this is the body's way of detoxing. So if you get a cold or flu once or twice or 3 times for the year, that's not a bad thing. That's the body's innate ability and innate wisdom, inherent wisdom to detox. And the symptoms that we get are the body's way of detoxing the body. Those are what they are. So we don't want to shut the symptoms down. We want to heal the body, right? So if they get a cold and a flu, most times with children, I'll tell you this much, because childhood ailments are so acute, and acute here means that they're so short-lived because they don't have that many years on this earth. Most of these, they're very self-limiting. They're very self-limiting. The body knows exactly what to do once you support it. Once you eliminate the obstacles to healing, then it knows what to do. So you just need to support the body, and then the body just goes through and heal. Now, what we've been seeing lately in the last, I'd say, 5 to 10 years or so, is that we're seeing a lot more children that are showing up with conventional illnesses, like adult illnesses like diabetes, and children as young as 5 and 6. And so now that's criminal, right? That's criminal. And part of that has to do with what they're being fed, whether in their diet, because it's largely there. But that's, again, it's still something that can be turned around with the right nutrition. And Chef Roberta's doing those kinds of things in her program as well. But it's really understanding nutrition and wading through all the marketing schemes that are brought to us. And I go through this in very detail in my course, so that you can learn how to give the right types of foods and to not get caught up in all of the marketing schemes that these food and drug administrative companies are doing to grab your attention. So you could wade through that, and really provide a healthy environment for you and your family.
Yes. And you said so much just now. You touched on so many things, and I'm trying to let's see what I'm actually point out. But I think that's so important to really, I like how you broke it down and I think it's important for listeners to know that it's you as the parent that actually has control over what your children are eating, and like you said, it's just do a little bit of research and things of that nature. And so even though, because I know some parents, because we just continue to do what our parents have done, and that's how we kind of raise our children. But if you do get to the point of adult diabetes, and it's signs that's there before your child even gets to that, and so I understand. And when you said that's criminal, I was like, yes. That's because it is the parent at that stage, a young child who is not purchasing their own food, who is not cooking their own food. It is the responsibility of the adult, the parent that is taking care of that child, to make sure that they're in their best conditions. And it's no longer a space for us to say that we don't know what to do. All the YouTube channels out, all the food products that are out. Recipes that are out, we just have to educate ourselves a little bit more and make sure that we are setting our child up to be their best selves,
Yeah, the onus is on us mothers to do that and to become more aware. And it's an investment, but it's an investment that can really change the tide of generations to come. And when you think of it from that perspective, there really isn't too much a price or a time or an effort or a sacrifice would take to really help to change the course. I mean, right now we are really in a crisis, and the crisis is that our children, my generation of children, right, and my children's generation, they stand the chance of not outliving their parents. This is the first time
first generation.
history. First time history that we are going to have a generation of children that will not outlive their chance. So when you think about that, I mean, we're thinking about the extinction of our universe. I mean, our planet,
Pretty
because if
much.
we're not having procreation or of that, because these kids are going to be not being able to outlive their parents. It's really a very dire place that we are in as a society. I mean, even with what we're pushing right now as a country, and this is not to get political, but what we're promoting again is still, it's important, even in trying to find the right resolution to the situation that we're in our country. But it's really important to make sure now more than ever that nutrition and health and healing is something that we're taught and we understand, so that we can change the course of generations to come. Because 2/3, 88% of our country right now is metabolically unhealthy. 88%. That's more than 2/3. That's more than 2/3 of our country. That's over 200 million Americans and counting. And that's a lot. That's a lot. So we really have a large work to do as moms, as parents, to really step up to the plate and really become knowledgeable about what it's going to take for us to institute a healthy environment for our home, for our children and their children, so we can prevent a lot of the illnesses and the conditions that are really lifestyle based that are showing up in our nation today and around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had this conversation before about how I believe that, when I talk about changing eating habits in the home, I'm like, we as women are the biggest influencers in our homes, especially when it comes to situations of health and eating, like you were saying, how we're natural nurturers and things of that nature. And so, it's really, it's a job that could be daunting for some, but it's a job that's necessary. It's a position that's very necessary in our homes, to make sure that we're healthy, make sure our children are healthy, make sure our spouses are healthy, just so they can live their best lives, their life to the fullest, not just living a long life, but more so of living a healthy, enjoyable life to the fullest. And so I think that that's very important. And for all of my female listeners out there, you like I said, you are the biggest influence in your home, and you can take on this task. There's tools out here, courses out here, for all of you all to really dive into. Information is abundant, okay? Information is abundant. Products is about to be abundant. And so it's no real excuse. It's just really much you just having that determination to do. So with that being said, please tell us about your course. What can people expect out your course? Where can people find your course? How they can connect with you? Please share.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me that opportunity to do that. And so I will be at the end of this month, very soon. The dates are going to be posted on my social media platform coming up very soon. Within the week or so, I will be launching the Whole Health for the Whole Family course. It really is a handful of people because I'm doing it live. This one's a live one, and my live courses, so that it can be intimate. It's really for a handful of people, and I interview you to make sure that you're a good fit and for the group as well, because it's a very intimate amount of people, a small amount. But in this course, you will be learning the tools, you will be gathering the tools so that you can really wade through, like, the pillars of health, understanding them, how they work, why they work. We want to give you, like I said, that big confidence that you can now go into this very daunting. Most women that I speak to, most mothers that I speak to, they are intentionally wanting the best for their children. They are, and for themselves and their family. but it becomes overwhelming because there's so many voices out there of do this, do that. No, don't do this. No, do that. No, you could try this. No, try that. And that becomes so overwhelming for them because it's like, what do I use? So even though there's a lot of information out there, sometimes that over information can become very confusing for most people and lead to that sense of overwhelm and anxiety of, well, what do I really do? Well, as a mom, obviously first, as a mom of 5 children, and then as a naturopathic physician who's gone through the ropes, I put together all of that in one place of a trusted space where you can holistically gather the tools necessary so that you don't always have to run to the urgent care for everything that's going on. You can gather the tools necessary to raise a confidently healthy family, yourself included, and together, and give you the blueprint so that you can raise them and raise yourself and help to turn the tide of the epidemic that we're dealing with today, and have a confidence in raising healthy children that you can prevent a lot of illnesses. And if they do show up, because sometimes they will, sometimes common childhood ailments will show up, what you can do naturally to help steer it away. And then also when to know, okay, I've reached my limit with my expertise, now I need to go to the doctor, but knowing so to do so confidently. And that's what you learn in the course, and much, much more. We go really, really in depth, and it's a live one. So that's that. And if you're looking to follow me on my social media platforms, I actually just started off with TikTok. My son's helping me with that, that younger generation, they're really good. So you wouldn't find much there just yet because I'm just starting there, believe it or not. But most of the social media handles like Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and also on what's that one? It's just the last one, Clubhouse. Yes, Clubhouse. Yeah, I'm on there as Dr. Dellia, but I'm on Naturopathically Speaking. So that's my handle, Naturopathically Speaking. And then you can just follow me on all my social media platforms where I put out expert insight, for healthy tips for the whole family, including you mothers, but it's geared towards moms, because that's my passion like myself.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you so much. And remember, you all, I'm putting the links in also the bio, and they're clickable links, so you can click and connect right then and there, and definitely sign up for the course. I mean, where are you going to get another doctor to say that I'm gonna have this intimate tribe for you all to change your life, mothers? Hello. So make sure that that you're signing up for the course, you're getting the product, you understand, you get all your, I'm sure you'll be doing Q&A sessions and
absolutely. You get homework, you get Q&A sessions, you can ask me anything intimately that you may have, that you may want to have. It's very intimate, so you get to have not one-on-one, but group coaching one-on-one with the doctor. So it's going to be very beneficial for you and your family. And also you can send me an email at my naturopathiccallyspeaking@gmail.com, or you can go to any of my social media platforms and DM me there, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook, and we can set up a talk to see if we are a good fit for the group, because it's an investment, but it's an investment that will be worth dividends for your family.
Absolutely. Like I said,
so follow me on my platforms.
Absolutely. No, and I just want everyone to know that when it comes to your health, you have to invest in it. Okay. You have no choice but to invest in your health. Either you invest in it at the beginning, where though you're learning and you're making sure you're making good decisions that's best for your health, or you invest in it later on when you don't make those good decisions and you're possibly, in the worst health of your life, and now you have to invest in this medication over and over again. So,
and when you think about it, when you have, when you think about, like Roberta was saying, many times it's an investment, and whatever you invest in will have its reward or its outcome. So either you invest now in a good outcome that would save you dividends and really save you a lot of money long term, or you can be on multiple medications that really add up. I mean, it's actually cheaper to be healthier, believe it or not, because an ounce of prevention is really, really, really cheaper than a pound of cure. So it's just better. So prevention is best.
Yeah.
And what greater investment so that you can optimize your health and really optimize and live optimally in vitality and not just feeling like groggy and sick all the time. I mean, you can now, your health is your wealth, right?
Yeah.
So when you have your health, you are really literally walking into anything else that you want to do and doing it well.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I couldn't say it better. They already heard me say all of these things.
Yeah, good.
So
Good.
yes. So I want to thank you so much, Dr. Bernard, for being on our show today, for dropping all of the knowledge that you have. Hopefully we can get you to come back. Audience, just let us know in the comment section, you know, what type of illness that you're battling with right now, and how are you handling that? You know, I would love to know some feedback on how you're handling that, if you would care to share. Okay. And also let us know how this video was helpful to you, so I can continue to put out more videos. And definitely follow all of the social media links with Dr. Bernard and her wonderful teachings. I know I follow YouTube, and she gives you all types of jewels that really help you in your daily life. And, you know, it's pretty common, it's easy, it's digestible. So definitely follow her. And thank you all for tuning into the Plant-Based Kitchen. Remember, this is not medical advice, okay? This was just us speaking and talking, and any medical issues that you might have, please go to your doctor to find treatment, because they know you best, okay? And so I will see you all in the next podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.